Sarwapriya, good morning. Please sit down. So, where are you coming from? Which city?
Ma'am, I am basically from Ranchi, but at present I am residing in Delhi.
Okay. So, you are quite comfortable in Delhi? It's very hot? Very hot, right. So, it doesn't matter. So, now tell me about May Day. Tomorrow is May Day. M-A-Y Day. Is it known for something or just May Day?
Ma'am, it is known for labor. It's a Labor Day, May Day.
So, it's celebrated internationally? I mean, all over the world or just in India?
Ma'am, I'm not aware. I'm not.
Okay, doesn't matter. So, tell me about passenger trains. There were 13 passenger trains which were cancelled because of the coal problem in certain industrial area. So, is it a good decision?
Ma'am, I think the government in its wisdom has taken the correct decision at this point in time because there is power shortage, power outages, primarily because of shortage of coal. And one of the reasons, among other reasons like COVID problem and Ukraine-Russia problem, there was also logistics issue. So railway has to solve it, and keeping that in mind, it has cancelled the passenger train. So I think it's a good decision.
Send more coal, more rakes of coal as they are called, right? So now you tell me that there is a shortage of judges in India. The Chief Justice of India, he said that we have to do something fast so that all these cases, pending cases can be solved. So what do you think they should do, the judges?
There are a couple of things which can be done here. First, as we saw during the pandemic time, that the cases were taken online. So if we, even after coming out of pandemic, if it is done in an expeditious manner, then that can solve the issue. The second issue is All India Judicial Service. So there are lots of cases pending even in the lower courts, the subordinates courts as they are called. So once AIJs come into picture, then that problem will be solved. And thirdly, ma'am, the collegium system. So we need more hiring on that front as well.
So tell me that there is a system called summary disposal. You understand? Summary disposal of case. It's a quick disposal. Like for example, you have held up some people under the CRPC, okay, 107, 114 or 12, whatever. And they are all about 100 people you have arrested as a magistrate because they are creating some problem somewhere in your district. So, I am telling you of an example where I saw cases pending under this section, which is just a preventive section initially. It's just a preventive. But the cases were pending for 6 months because nobody is saying, okay, get out and get lost. So, you have to summary dispose, finish with it. Unless there is a criminal and he is acting funny, the rest you should leave, because they are boys and girls, they are just shouting on the road, so you put them in. So after 10 days, you get out, go home. So that you should, as a magistrate, know, right? Now I have read that a United States coordinator is coming to India to meet the Dalai Lama, right? So who's this? Coordinator, you know, but why is she wanting to meet the Dalai Lama?
Ma'am, there are multiple reasons for that. One, Dalai Lama is known for peace throughout the world, and also because China wants to appoint the next Dalai Lama, which is objected by the Western world, particularly by United States. So they want to be in good terms with Buddhists, particularly Dalai Lama as well. So that can be one of the reasons why he wants to meet Dalai Lama.
Right, sir, please.
So, Sarwapriya, you have done electrical and electronic engineering. I will give you a name. Does it sound anything good in your ears? One Richard Feynman. Ever heard about him?
So I have heard about him.
In which context you heard about him?
So in context of teaching, so he has very unique and progressive methodology of teachings and learning.
Teaching and?
Learning.
Learning, okay. What does he teach? Which subject he teaches? or taught? What not teaches?
So I think physics, but I'm not 100% sure.
Not very sure. Okay. He was good at electronics, good at electricals, good at everything in that line, including what you call it, classical theory, these, that, everything, and won a Nobel Prize also. Okay. So, we are hearing about semiconductor crisis or chip shortage. Are both the same thing? What I mean to say, that whether chip and semiconductor, we are referring to the same thing or some other thing?
So semiconductor is one of the input stages of making the chips, and both are very important for the electronic sector. So we are facing shortages of both.
We are facing shortage of both. How do we overcome that?
So
We need semiconductor for chip, or some other connection is there.
So that is one thing which comes to my mind. Semiconductor is needed for chips, and then chips are installed in the electronic circuits, which then make up the electronic.
Chip looks very cheap type of word. Is there a technical word for that?
So microprocessors. So I think so.
Okay. Acha, so we are talking about the crisis and the shortage. And what I understand, it is in the automobile industry where the shortage is most felt. Why in India we cannot take up this manufacture or production of chip so that we become self-sufficient in chip manufacturing?
So we very well can, and as a matter of fact, in the previous year and the past few months, we have looked into producing our own semiconductors factories and manufacturing.
Has anybody taken up the this thing issue that okay, let us do it, and okay, here is my money, I put it in the new factory manufacturing chip?
So many companies, for example, Lava Technology, which manufactures mobile, they are setting up factories. Moreover, because of production linked incentive scheme, which the government has come up in electronics and semiconductor sector, companies from the foreign are also incentivized to set up factories like Intel. So we are working towards it. And
my question is, has anybody committed its money, some company committed its money towards the project?
so Lava Technology has committed.
Okay. Sarwapriya, have you had any personal encounter with police at any point of time?
So traffic police.
Traffic police. Okay. And what was the experience like?
The experience was decent, but I felt it could have been better.
It could have been better. Okay. So, in and you must have heard the experiences of others also. This is personal experience, but there must have been some other narrations from others also. In light of that, what do you think some reform which can be taken up without spending much money? Police reform I am talking about.
So there can be frequent soft skill training, that is one. Secondly, so that can be done in an inexpensive manner, online as well. Secondly, there are certain states like Tamil Nadu and Kerala, which has come up with initiatives where the police and people networking or friendship are enhanced. Similar suit can be followed in rest of the states. These are certain police reforms which can prevent the citizens from being harassed.
Anything from your side? I mean, that's from contribution from Tamil Nadu or somewhere. From your personal contribution.
So in terms of larger police reforms, I think transfers are one thing, frequent transfers, which can be stopped, at least 2 years tenure going by the Supreme Court guidelines that should be provided. This is so in 2005-06 Prakash Singh case.
Prakash Singh case. And you know who's Prakash Singh?
Sir, I'm not very.
Achha, okay. Thank you, sir.
What you mentioned about the interface of the community with the police, that has a particular name. Have you heard the term community policing? what does it envisage? What are the essentials of community policing as against the traditional policing which you and I are accustomed to?
In the traditional policing, the police monitors the people, they look over them, while in community policing, the community is involved in policing, they cooperate with the police, and at the same time the relationship between the police and the community seems to be better in community policing as compared to...
Structured. The community policing system, has it been structured and implemented as a structured model anywhere in the country?
So community policing in some of the southern states like Tamil Nadu and Kerala, as I mentioned, they are moving forward in that direction. However, there is much more need for making it structured in rest of the country as well.
You mentioned police reforms. You mentioned Mr. Prakash Singh. In a scale of 1 is to 10, how much do you think police reforms have been implemented and not implemented? Just grade.
So I think there are a lot of reforms that are needed going forward. So I would give 7 on 10. There's a lot of scope for improvement.
Wonderful. We go to something like Palamu, Jharkhand. Left-wing extremism, when you talk of left-wing extremism, the first names that come to your mind are Palamu and Jharkhand. Tell me, what do you understand by left-wing extremism?
So left-wing extremism or Naxalism is use of force or violence, keeping in mind the left-wing ideology which people try, and they want to remove the dispensation and form their own government.
Like people, you and I?
No, sir, not exactly people, sir, Naxalites.
And who are the targeted in the catchment area? Obviously, if the cadres of the left wing are there to recruit, they will not try to recruit you and me. They have a specific target. And who's that specific target?
So they are the tribal population.
Good. Yes, go ahead.
So tribal population, people who are influenced by the left-wing ideology, these are their targets. Largely tribal people because their literacy rate is less, and it is...
When was the last major incident in Palamu of Naxal violence?
Sir, I am not aware, sir.
Never mind. Do you think Naxalism has been contained? And if yes, what are the reasons? And if not, what are the reasons?
Sir, I believe it has been contained. If we look at the numbers, then Ministry of Home Affairs came with a number that in last 6 years, there has been a reduction in incidence of left-wing extremism by 46%. And today only 43 districts are affected by left-wing extremism. The reasons behind that are two-faced. One is developmental and other is security. So on the developmental front, the government has come with certain schemes like mobile towers, community radio stations, opening of roads in hinterlands, and also tribal education and health. So this has helped the tribal people develop, and they are not going into the Naxalite forces. The second is security. So security wise also the state governments are gradually taking more responsibility of and considering it as a law and order issue, and they are coordinating with CRPF to wipe out Naxalism. So these two are the issues.
Okay, Sarwapriya, to respected ma'am's question on expeditious judicial proceedings. You mentioned hiring of judges, online trials, but there is something that you can do immediately at almost zero budget, and that is Lok Adalat. Have you heard of Lok Adalat? What is Lok Adalat and what are the positives of it?
Are places for arbitration for people without having to go to the courts, the higher courts. So they lead to expeditious judgment.
Okay, now coming to your hobby, my last question is, Diego Maradona, you must have heard of him, and there's a very great goal attributed to him, the hand of God. What was this hand of God incident?
So actually in 1986 World Cup when against England, so in the second goal, at that time we did not have the technology of VAR and all. So he, instead of scoring with his head, he scored with his hand, and the referee could not see it, so it was not disallowed. So it was counted as a goal, and
Maradona got the credit.
yes, sir.
Thanks, sir. Sarwapriya, you are from Jharkhand.
Yeah.
Now tell me why the institutionalization of PRIs, Panchayati Raj institutions, have been so slow in Jharkhand. The first elections were held after 10 years of the constitution of the state.
Yes, sir. So, one of the reason is because of the traditional panchayats that are prevalent in Jharkhand. So, there is often friction between the traditional panchayats and the PRI constitutional panchayats. So, after 1996 reforms, when the PESA Act came in, there was an initiative to align the both. So, after that, it has been happening at a decent pace, but that was one reason why initially it did not happen.
Okay. Now, Jharkhand has got 40% of India's mineral wealth, but still, on various socio-economic parameters, it is not very, not commensurate. The development, economic development is not commensurate with that. So what could be the reason for that?
So there are multiple reasons for that. One is, of course, we are a landlocked state, so we do not have access to the sea borders. Had we had the access to the sea borders, we could have gotten the revenue from exports of natural resources. That is one. Second is, corruption is very high. Some of the high echelons in the politics are behind the bars because of corruption. Third is the political instability. In the first 15 years of the formation of Jharkhand, we saw 9 different governments. So there is not a policy continuity, and that leads to poor socio-economic indicators despite high natural resources.
Okay, so where do you also see a role of tribals in this? Because they are getting displaced, and then the rehabilitation policy is not robust.
Yes, sir. Not exactly the role of tribals. I would say the role of Naxalites here. They have acted as a hindrance in development, and they have taken the tribals sometimes in their fold. So that is one thing. And so regarding the rehabilitation of tribals, that could have been done better had we implemented the national policy of rehabilitation and resettlement 2007 in letter and spirit. But unfortunately that has not happened as of now in its entirety. So that is where the problem lies.
Now in the past few weeks, there have been many instances of seizure of drugs, narcotics. Last 2 days back only in Kandla, I think more than 1400 crore of these narcotics were seized. In Punjab also. So what are the reasons for that, and what Government of India has done recently to curb this drug menace, the smuggling of drug? First, tell me the reason.
So there are many reasons for that. One of the reasons is, first, we need to improve the our border penetration. So at times porous borders also lead to drugs coming in. Same with the maritime borders as well. Secondly, sir, unemployment among the youth is one of the probable reasons why they are gravitating towards use of drugs. So these are some reasons that come to my mind. Sir, regarding what the government is doing, sir, on one hand it is collaborating with the international agencies like Interpol and United Nations agencies, and sir, on the domestic front, so it has acted very strictly in the high profile cases also, so that can act as a deterrent for other people so that they do not get embroiled in this drug problem.
Is there a specific mechanism set up in the Ministry of Home Affairs for coordinating this action against drugs?
So there is a mechanism, but I am unable to recall it.
Okay. Now my last question, how is the business of power, sale and purchase done in India? Power means electricity. What is the mechanism?
So sale and purchase are done by power discoms.
Okay.
From the thermal power plants like NTPC.
So they agree, they go for some agreement with the some power purchase agreement, PPA. Have you heard of this power exchange? Whatever is surplus power, how is that is traded?
I'm not very aware.
Okay, right. Thank you, Mr. Sarwapriya.
Sarwapriya, you are a marketing hand from IIM, right? Now you are addressing the investors meet in Jharkhand. You belong to that state. and you have to kind of market Jharkhand to invite the investors. How would you do it?
So first, I will talk about the tourism. We have lots of greeneries. So tourism industry can be a big industry in Jharkhand. That is, if we properly market it, that is one. Secondly, as sir rightly pointed out, we have 40% of the natural resources, and I am sure many industries will be incentivized to come up and open the factories there. So that is another thing which can be marketed, the natural resources. And thirdly, sir, the flora and fauna that we have in abundance, that can also be marketed, so that will also form a part of tourism.
You are also an electronics engineer, right? Now, can you update us about the rolling out of 5G in India? Any timelines and what are the issues involved?
Sir, in the budget, our Honorable Finance Minister said that in 2022-23, there will be a sale of a spectrum for 5G, and that is when it will be initiated.
So that is you are telling of February 1st situation.
Yes, sir.
We are in April, end of April.
I'm sorry,
Much water has flown in whichever river you want to. No, you don't know where. Yesterday only the minister has made a statement.
So I'm not aware about
You did not read it, doesn't matter. Unemployment is an issue in India.
Yes, sir, it is.
Now, electronic industry seems to be a very promising sector for unemployment. Now, tell me, which are the areas where the youngsters can be absorbed?
So one is the construction sector. Construction sector. Electronics.
I referred that to the beginning.
Sorry, sir. Sir, in the electronics sector, they can be absorbed in the manufacturing of devices, in designing, and then in designing of the softwares, and in the upcoming fourth industrial revolution devices or methodologies like artificial intelligence, blockchain. These all form part of electronics or will form going forward from here. So if we properly skill them, then they can be absorbed there.
I am making a statement. India's foreign policy of late is not based so much on ideology, but on strategic and economic interests. Do you agree? Do you don't agree? If you agree, whatever reasons you have for agreeing or not agreeing.
Sir, I partially agree with this. The reason being that our ideology, our idea and principles of democracy are fundamental, and however, when it comes to the national interest and security, it has also been seen that at times, for example, in the case of Myanmar junta, we did not openly criticize them because they had supported us a lot in counter-insurgency in the northeast. So at times we can go ahead of ideologies when it comes to the interest and security of the nation, but at the same time, ideology and principles are still the core and the root of our foreign policy.
Thank you so much.
So now, how do you rate yourself? Aapka overall performance? How do you think you did?
Ma'am, I think it was okay. I could have done better.
That's very good. You could have done better.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a general statement. Everyone says that.
Ma'am, there were certain things like updates on 5G, which I should have known.
You didn't.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
didn't recall. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Fair enough. So I think overall your analytical skills are good.
Thank you, ma'am.
You can brush it up a little more because that everyone can do, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And your body language is very positive and you're a smart looking, confident person.
Thank you, ma'am.
So maybe you look pretty well, but sir will add.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank you. Sarwapriya.
yes, sir.
Sarwapriya, you see, I find that your conversation is not in a conversation mode. The mode is question answer mode.
Okay, sir.
From there, if you can come to the conversation mode, that means where it will appear as if we are more in participative discussion. It will be better.
Understood, sir.
So, first deficiency which we noticed everyone, that there is some lack of energy,
Okay, sir.
and which is reflecting everywhere. But somewhere the participating mode has to come.
Sure, sir.
Then only things will improve. And of course, you will set your hairs nicely.
Sure, sir.
उड़े उड़े से बाल तो नहीं चलेंगे.
Sure, sir.
ठीक है?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely, and a good energy level with a bit of enthusiasm. And I'm
Sure,
happy that you said it is 7 out of 10 as far as police reform is. The fact of the matter is there are no police reforms. Okay, so you don't have to be unusually over optimistic.
Sure, sir.
Be realistic and be study more in respect of Padma Shri Prakash Singh Ji, 2006 police reform. It is bound to come. More likely it will come. So brush up on that. You are a good candidate.
Sure, sir.
Take it.
Thanks.
Clean shave before the interview. No stubble.
Sure,
Okay?
sir. Sure, sir.
Madam Sarwapriya, I agree with what has been said so far. You are a very good candidate.
Thank you, sir.
The body language was very confident and relaxed. That was a very strong point.
Thank you, sir.
And you could answer the question in a very balanced tone.
Thank you, sir.
Of course, you have to update your current affairs.
Yes, sir.
So maybe a little bit increase your span of knowledge.
Sure, sir. Yes, sir.
Rest all is good. All the best for myself.
Thank you, sir.
Sir.
So Sarwapriya, you were confident,
Thank you, sir.
but you were lackluster. आपसे waves मतलब ऐसी आ रही थी कि हम we were becoming lazier in conversation. This is the lighter vein.
Sure, sir.
The main mood point is that you have to show energy. You
Sure,
were
sir.
wondering that you haven't slept the whole night last night. Was it?
Sir, I did sleep.
You did?
Yes, sir.
So, it's a personality case for personality. For those half an hour, उस समय के लिए energy दिखाई.
Sure, sir.
The conversation लगे जैसे you are interesting to converse. And that is one.
Sure, sir.
Your knowledge is also sufficient. Not just that you haven't read the current affairs, which you should have. Even your electrical engineering, your this electronics, that's that.
Sure, sir.
Right? Even Jharkhand, I was not happy with the quality of answer. And Jharkhand, you started with tourism. Something, people are scared of going to tourism. And if you were mentioning tourism, you should have mentioned. And it was not like in a professional management graduate from IIM. That is the problem.
Sure, sir.
The problem is with you because you are so highly qualified. The expectations go up.
Yes, sir.
So you should mention, even if you mention tourism, you should mention, sir, we have taken care of the left-wing extremism. Earlier people used to be scared. I will tell the entrepreneurs that come and invest here in tourism, you should not be scared. Make it as if you have the entire world. यार आप जो मर्जी बोल सकते हो यहाँ पे, आपको कोई ये चिंता नहीं कि पैसा लगेगा सरकार का, आपको तो कुछ भी नहीं करना. To just give ideas,
Yes, sir.
from your mind. But don't be timid in making those statements.
Sure, sir.
And likewise, you understand my point?
Yes, sir.
And then you said, as sir has said, why should you quote someone? It's not your idea. अगर sir नहीं बोलते, तो ये idea आपको नहीं आता. That is also to be avoided. Unemployment, I asked electronics, you shifted to something else. Listen to the question properly.
Sure, sir.
And the reply on electronics partly was again that depth. Today the Prime Minister of India और Finance Minister semiconductor के लिए कह रही हैं, आओ $110 बिलियन का मार्केट है इंडिया, आइए हम यहाँ पर बच्चों को ट्रेन करेंगे, you come and invest. That because you have not read the paper. So घूम फिर के ये आ रहा है कि आपको डेप्थ लानी है नॉलेज के लिए,
Sure, sir.
क्वालिटी लानी है कंटेंट में, और कॉन्वर्जेशन में थोड़ा सा लाइफ लानी है. रेस्ट एवरीथिंग इज
Sure, sir.
Okay, so we rate you at 64% for the present interview. You can go higher.
Sure.
You have a very good personality, I think.
Thank you.
Right? What is your eye power?
I'm 2.25
That's
on
not
both sides.
much.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Cylindrical? Is it cylindrical or spherical?
Ma'am, one side cylindrical, one side spherical.
So just if you have any questions to ask me.
Sir, regarding my audibility, was it low?
This was low, very low.
थोड़ा ऊंचा करिए ना.
We forgot. Energy is related to the pitch also.
Pitch of your voice, yeah.
Sure, sir.
And it also shows lack of confidence. हल्के से बोलो, शायद मैं गलत बोल रहा हूँ, सुनेंगे ही नहीं. No, this is, the mind is very devilish. You never know. It comes automatically, reflexes. Most of our body, we have no control. It's a subconscious which comes out. So make it दबाओ subconscious को जहाँ जरूरत है.
Sure, sir.
Speak aloud.
Sir, and regarding the speed of speaking,
Speed was slightly slow because you were searching for ideas and words. If I ask you your own personal कि भाई आपको कौन सी पिक्चर लास्ट देखी उसकी स्टोरी बताओ, आप फटाफट बता दो. That's because you have an understanding of it. Otherwise it was good. We have not commented on that, but yes, we forgot about your pitch.
sure,
टोन
sir.
ऊपर कर लीजिए जैसे आप बता रहे.
Sure, ma'am.
Smile करिए. You are serious. You are confident but serious. There's a difference.
Yes, sir.
Internally आपके अंदर क्या हो रहा है we don't know. But बाहर जब तक नहीं दिख रहा है it's okay. झारखंड पे अच्छी मास्टरी करो. It's a very important state for discussion. You know.
Yes, sir.
अभी MP UP के तो बहुत लोग आते रहते हैं कैंडिडेट्स. तो वो भी बोर हो जाते हैं. कितना यूपी का पूछें, कितना MP का पूछें. Somebody comes from Jharkhand, somebody comes बिहार से भी बहुत आते हैं.
So, Kumar,
राजस्थान.
इन्होंने आपको रिप्लाई था PRI पे ना, वो भी थोड़ा
Yes,
उसको
sir.
भी देखिए आप.
Sure, sir.
Why it has taken so long to, election was held after 10 years to for the first election.
Yes, sir.
What could be the reason?
Sure, sir.
So
Political
take care.
instability,
और कुछ
yeah. ठीक है मैम.
Take care.
Thank you, ma'am.
We I told you we rate you at 64% for today's performance.
Sure.
थोड़ा सा smile, थोड़ा सा pitch. It will sort it out.
Sure,
Okay, you are
we'll try.
clearly 70% candidate.
Yeah, yeah.
जो थोड़ा honorable member ने suggest किया है ना, उस पे आप काम कीजिए.
मैनेजमेंट के भी और सब्जेक्ट्स को इश्यूज को क्या मैनेजमेंट एंड एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन. How
Definitely,
do
sir.
you use your management skills? Tools and techniques of management and administration as a collector. So these are all possible questions. You frame them. पहली बना लो.
Sure, sir.
All guess possible questions. लिख लीजिए. लिख के आंसर्स बना लीजिए. It will be more structured.
Sure, sir.
All the best to you.
Thank you,
Okay,
ma'am.
good luck.
Thank you,
All the
sir.
best.
Thank you, sir.